What is up, my Instagram friend? Good to see you today. I'm about to bring on two special guests. One of those guests is a great friend of mine. I call him the KETO OG, Jimmy Moore, and his best friend, Brittany. And we're going to talk about going one step deeper. We're going to talk a lot about the mindset, and this is going to make a big difference in your life. So thank you for joining me today. Let me know, for those joining right now, where in the world are you watching from? What is your city? What is your state? What is your country? I'm here in beautiful Miami Beach, Florida, and can't wait to bring on two special guests very, very soon. This is going to be a very impactful video for you, whether you're watching right now on the live stream or watching the replay. I really believe it'll make a big difference for you in your journey in life. So first, let me bring on Jimmy, bring on Brittany. So let's see, I'm bringing on here right now. You all know who he is, the man, the myth, the legend, Jimmy Moore. Hey, brother.
What's up, my man? How are you?
Man, I was doing great, and now that I'm seeing you and hearing you, I went from great to even greater. How are you?
You are a great suck up. Friend.
I mean it. I'm always
Yes,
happy
you do.
when I'm
And Brittany
around
will
you.
be here. Brittany will be here any moment. We were just talking on the phone right before we came on the air. So
Cool. Yeah, I've never done a live stream on Instagram with three people. So how does it format us? Like,
there'll be two at the bottom. You'll be at the top, and there'll be me and Brittany down at the bottom. So you'll be the clear interviewer, and then we'll be your guest below you. I had four on for one of my shows recently. So yeah, it's cool.
for four people, is it then split up, two at the top, two at the bottom?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
that
literally the Brady Bunch at that point. It's like, here's the story of
yeah.
loving Ricky.
Yeah. Well, we're kind of used to that with Zoom, but it's even
Yeah.
smaller. I see she's joining here, so let's bring on Brittany.
Yes, yes.
I can't wait to meet her and talk
She
about life-changing information. So for those
she
on
is
here,
my she's my bestest bud in the world.
there she go. Hey, Brittany.
Hello.
Nice to officially meet you.
Yes, nice to meet you as well.
Jimmy speaks very highly of you, and I could see why. I was already, getting ready for this little live stream we're doing today, and I was just loving the information you're putting out there. So, welcome, both of you. I'm going to give you both a proper introduction. For those joining or watching the replay, I believe the next 30 minutes or so will make a big difference in your life, in your relationships, in your careers, in your financial area, whatever area will upgrade when you work on the inner size. And we're going to talk about going one step deeper, which is a brand new book that both Jimmy Moore and Brittany, who are best friends, wrote together. There it is right there. Hey, I didn't even know it was available on paperback. I thought it was just Kindle, Jimmy.
No, I was gonna send you one, and you're like, I got it, and you bought the Kindle version. So I'll still send you one, bro. Just give me your address and I'll get you.
My bad. Yeah, please send me one. So you have a brand new book that everybody could get on Amazon, and I want to dive into the book. So I'll start with you, Brittany. Why, what does it mean to go one step deeper? What does that exactly mean in life?
Wow. What a question to just start out on. Okay, I like this. So many people live their life on the surface level and just kind of like placating life and just walking through life and accepting whatever comes to you. And I just feel like when it comes to going one step deeper, you have to dig through your patterns, why you believe what you believe, where you got to where you are. Like one of the biggest things for me that I've uncovered in going one step deeper is that the reality is, unless you go one step deeper, you have no idea who you are. You don't know who you are. You don't know how to walk through life and deal with the emotions that come your way, the feelings that come your way. Diving through for myself and going one step deeper with myself has been incredible because it's opened up this whole new world that I don't just believe what I believe because somebody told me to. I know what I believe. I know who I am because I've gone one step deeper to know why it is I believe that. And I have a solid foundation of who I am. You know, a lot of people will hear it. I don't know who I am. People are 30, 40, 50, not knowing who they are. It's because they're accumulation of what people tell them to be rather than going one step deeper to figure out who they are for themselves.
Yeah, I see that all the time. So, Jimmy, why did you want to write a book with Brittany to dive deeper and go a step deeper here?
Well, it was actually a an extension of our friendship. So we met just over 3 years ago. It was April of 2019, and I don't think things happened by mistake, Ben. She reached out to me because she posted on her stories after reading my book, Complete Guide to Fasting, and she tagged me in a post in her story. Hey, been reading this book, trying fasting out. Go check out this book, and she tagged me. So I'm like, I do this a lot. You know, I do this. And so do you, Ben. I reached out to her and I said, hey, if you ever have any questions, I'm happy to help. I'm here for you. And then she's like, well, actually, I do have several questions for you. I was like, well, if it's several questions, let's just get on the phone and talk. And so we started talking about keto and then fasting and then life. And then her trauma was sexual abuse, mine with physical and mental abuse. And we just went from there and became the best of friends. And we would go very deep in conversations to the point that I'm like, Brittany, like, I wish we were recording our conversations the last hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours sometimes that we would talk. We should do a podcast together. And she's like, nah, that's your thing, Jimmy. I don't podcast. And I finally convinced her, kicking and screaming, to start the One Step Deeper podcast. And now we're at 65, 66 episodes, a bunch of episodes out there now. And then I'm like, you know what's coming next, Brittany? We're going to write a book together. And she's like, oh, are we? And so that was kind of the impetus, was our relationship, our connection with one another. We went one step deeper all the time with one another. Why hold that in for ourselves? Why don't we let the whole world know that they too can and should go one step deeper?
Yes, I love that. You're so right. One of my favorite quotes Earl Nightingale said, and I have this in my email like signature. He said, most people tiptoe their way through life hoping to land safely to death.
Yeah.
Right? So what I love about you two and your book and your podcast and the things you're getting out there, it helps people wake up and become aware of their self-limiting beliefs, their paradigms. And I know something that is a pet peeve for you, Brittany, is when somebody says to you, or you hear the sentence, Brittany, that's just the way I am. Nothing I can do about it. What does that mean to you when you hear that?
It eats me up when I hear people say, well, this is just the way I am. And always, I just want to I want to shake them and go, okay, this is just the way you are, but why? Why are you just this way? I hear that most often from my dad, who thankfully is on a growth journey now that I've pointed out to him. He's like, oh, it's just how I am. It's just how I am. And I'm like, but what does that mean? What does that mean to you when you're just like, oh, it's just how I am? But you don't have to be that way. You don't have to be reactive. You don't have to live and repeat trauma patterns. You don't have to keep repeating these cycles over and over and over again. You can go one step deeper and piece that apart. And so just well, this is just how I am. I always challenge that belief, because like you were talking about, it's such a limiting belief. You limit yourself and you're like, well, this is just how I am. Okay, but can you be better? Can you do better? Can you learn more? Once you learn more, you can apply it. Like, be better, do better.
I agree. First step is awareness, right? You can't change unless you're aware that you're having these thought patterns, and we have about 60,000 thoughts per day. A lot of things are popping up, and it's usually negative, stinking thinking. So, Jimmy, how can you relate this conversation to somebody saying that's just the way I am, or their self-limiting beliefs? How can you relate that to people who are struggling to get results with keto or in health in general?
Yeah, I mean, look, if you believe things about life that aren't true, but it's based on, and we recently did a podcast episode on this, it's based on a narrative that you told yourself. I can never lose weight. People say that a lot, Ben. And so if you don't think you can lose weight, guess what? You're right. You sure can't. With that mindset, you can't. And so I feel like the limiting beliefs, they do nothing but paralyze us, which is why taking a step to go one step deeper is so critical. And yes, it's about your mental health, but it's about your physical health. It's about your relationships. It's about all the things of life. I think we like to put things like mindset into the box of, well, that's just for people that have mental health. No, 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 no. It's every part of your life. And the sooner we realize that, the sooner that we go on that personal journey to grow and develop, is the sooner you can actually become who you were meant to be all along, and stop limiting yourself. Stop believing that you are a certain way, because I refuse to believe I'm in any kind of box. The boxes are thrown open, bring it.
Okay. I agree with both of you. I believe success in all areas, not just health and keto, but success in all areas is about 5% strategy, 95% mindset. And that's a big, I'm going to use the word failure in our health space that people neglect to address the mind, the mindset, those self-limiting beliefs. That's why I believe your book and the work that you both are doing right now is so important. And I love that you've transitioned into this area full on, Jimmy. So let's talk about the book, which is called One Step Deeper. It's a 40-day, there it goes, 40-day kickstart to personal growth. So what, for those who get the book and everybody watching right now who follow me and my audience on here or watching the replay, go get the book because 95% of your results is dependent on this, the mindset, and the book will talk about that. For those who get the book and read it, what are some of the basic principles in the book? What would that person expect to get from reading the book? Brittany, we'll start with you and then I'll ask Jimmy the same question.
I'm going to start with day one. Day one, we start, it's the way we did and laid out the book was we give you like these basics very early on in section one, and we kind of compile, and it gets tougher and tougher and tougher and more in your face
Mm,
as you go on. Day one is about grounding yourself in gratitude.
mhm.
I believe that no matter how difficult personal development gets, how difficult, how deep you go, if you get a little bit too deep and like, all right, this is too much, you can always pull yourself back and ground yourself and be grateful with how far you've come, where you are, where you're not anymore. I think about my trauma story and all of the whew, turmoil that I went through, which you can read about in the book. Um, I'm just so grateful that I'm not there anymore. I'm not where I want to be. I want more in my life. I want better. I want bigger. I want to help more people. But I know I can't get there without being thankful for the Brittany that I am right now, which is why day one, that's where we started. It was so important to start there.
I,
You're
I'm,
talking, you're speaking my language right now. Go ahead, Jimmy.
I'm smiling because she said she wanted more in her life, but she didn't say More. She got Moore in her.
Yeah, you got to be specific. You got more of more. That's what you did.
Yes, yes, yes. But yes, she's so right. Like the book, we formatted it so that we start you off kind of slow. Like we know not everyone's into personal growth and development, and so the first 10 entries are a little lighter. I don't know if you noticed that, Ben, as you were looking at the book, but the first 10 a little less. We don't go at you quite yet. We challenge you, yes. We kind of get you to think about things. We're basically laying the foundations of the book itself, but once we get into the next section and you see the next part of our personal stories of trauma, and then we go a little harder. And by section 4, it's just bam, bam, bam. We're just coming at you because we feel like if you're never challenged on what you think, what you believe, how do you ever expect to change? You can only change when you're faced with something so stark from what you currently believe that you go, huh, wow, I never thought about it that way before. And look, it has our names on the front cover, but you should actually write your name. I almost, Brittany, should have had like a blank down here and say, write your name in here because we have lines in here that we want you to go one step deeper. This will be your story. This is not the kind of book you're going to read and then pass on. It's going to be so unique. Ben Azadi is going to be the third co-author on it because Ben is going to write in there what his thoughts are about what he read from us.
I love that. Jimmy, on Amazon, it only shows Kindle. Let me double check that. Where can they get it on paperback?
Yeah, it's in the hardback on Amazon. Amazon's weird. They have like it takes like 8 weeks for them to merge the Kindle and the hardback.
That's
But
why.
go to our website, onestepdeeperjournal.com. We actually have the clickable links at onestepdeeperjournal.com to both the Kindle and the hardback. Hopefully, very soon they'll have those merged. But in the meantime, we wanted to go ahead and get the word out. We got a book. Go get it. So
Got it. Oh, okay, I see it here. Yeah, there are different links, but yeah, well, it's probably on your profile too. Like, is
yeah,
there a clickable? Yeah, so Jimmy Moore has it on his profile, clickable link. I think Brittany's frozen, right? I see a circle there. Do you think is she frozen on us? Yeah.
probably frozen. She'll come
And
back.
Becky put the links. I'm gonna pin. Thank you, Becky. We appreciate you. Yeah. So
Uh,
I love, Jimmy, I love that you started with the book with gratitude. Oh, she's back. I
She's
love that
back.
you started the book with,
Sorry.
all good. I love that you started the book with gratitude, something that I'm big on. I call it vitamin G. I'm always telling people get your daily dose of vitamin G.
Yeah.
And what you appreciate appreciates, right? So you kind of laying the framework in the book, and then you go deeper and deeper and deeper. So I'm going to ask you this question, and when Brittany comes back, I'll ask her the same question, Jimmy. Question is this: based off of the principles in the book, what's one thing that you went deeper on that made a big difference in your life?
Oh my gosh, everything. Like that's the funny part. And Brittany, you're back. He just asked about what you went deeper on in the book that you've never really done before. I'm like, she's the queen of it because she threw everything out and rebuilt from scratch. So now that she's back, I want her to answer. I'll answer in a second, but I want to hear her tell her story.
So, all right, let me make sure I got this right. You're asking me what I uncovered in writing the book that I had to go one step deeper on?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so oh gosh, I remember writing the worst of the worst part of my story, which was my sexual trauma. And when I wrote that, I thought I had cried all my tears. I had thought I gotten all that out and I had healed from that. But going back, what I realized, it wasn't what happened to me in that moment that affected me the most. It was the not being validated, not being seen, not getting to tell my story. And there's more details in the book about that. My abuser didn't get the I didn't get the justice that I thought that I deserved based off what happened to me. And so in telling my story and going one step deeper into that story, I actually had a memory pop up that caused quite a reaction as I was writing. I remembered a time where I had to lock myself in my room, and I didn't remember that until I was writing. And then it just like came to me, emotional reaction to remembering that.
So,
I'm sorry, what?
yeah, you froze on us. It was like we were left in suspense there, but you're back now. Yeah, you said a moment came to you, and then you paused.
Keep
Okay.
going, Brittany.
I'm so sorry about my connection, guys. But yes, I had a moment I had memory come up. Yeah, I'm frozen again. I'm sorry.
You're still here. Go.
You're
Okay,
back.
so
Yeah.
okay, the memory that it was that I had to lock myself in the room to get away from him, and that just it brought obviously emotional reaction that came up, and I had to dig deeper in telling my story. And as I'm telling my story, I'm freeing myself, and in telling my story, I'm helping somebody that's going to read my story and go, "Wow, she went through something hard. She went through something similar to me. I could tell my story." And so I had to dig deeper for myself so that I could get to that point. But I'm also glad that I did that so that I could help other people dig deeper in their stories.
Mm.
Oh, can I piggyback on one other thing that happened with Brittany and published? She found out things after we published that changed the narrative of what she had always believed. And she was so upset by it. She was calling me half in tears, going, Jimmy, the book's a fraud. I said something that wasn't true. I'm like, was it true when you wrote it? Yeah, I believed it. I'm like, that's the nature. I'm sure Keto Flex has things that like, oh, and I can tell you, Keto Clarity most certainly has lots of things. Oh, I don't necessarily agree with anymore, but that's the nature of a book. And so,
Yeah.
like, this is why we're writing a follow-up book. If you have, new information that's come out, but I thought that was interesting that she was upset because the narrative that she always believed was true. Then she had it turned on her head after we went to print. I was like, but what if this person reads it and that, and I'm like, no, the context was you released it before you knew that, so it's okay.
Absolutely. I've been there, Brittany, and I totally agree with Jimmy. That's what you believed at that moment. You put in the book, and then you have to do a second edition or a new book and you revise it. That's all. Adaptability is the name of the game, and it's a beautiful thing. We should always be changing our thoughts, our mindset, and adapt instead of being rigid. We should always be learners instead of saying we're the learned. So it's a great thing that that happened. Um,
Yes.
Question for both of you is this: what are, like, when they read the book, there's going to be an action step in there. The book is written for the person. I believe it'll make a big difference for people in their life. But what about those who finish the book and they still have all of these justifications and reasons why they can't live on purpose with their purpose. They can't change their relationships. They can't change their career. They still have those negative beliefs. How do they continue pushing forward so they do start to actually make sustainable results in their life? As she's frozen, Jimmy, you could answer the question.
You know what Brittany and I actually talked about was encouraging people to get the book, go through the book, and do the book right now, but then do it again 6 months from now. And so get a whole nother copy, because you will have written in this one, because again, it's got all the lines and everything, and you would have already put all your answers the previously. But then and even date it when you get the book, put a date in here, and then do it again like 6 months later, and then compare your answers from the first time you did it to the second time you did it. Because you may not feel like you're growing, you may feel like you're stagnant and you're not going deeper, you're not growing, you're not developing. But what you'll find is your new answers will be different because you are making changes. You won't always feel the changes, they won't always, ah, aha, it won't be this like grand moment. It's kind of like, when you help people, Ben, get on a health journey, they don't always lose a lot of weight, but they're making massive changes in their health. It's the same thing. You're making massive changes in your mindset and how you think about things, but you don't see it because it's not this huge, profound, the sky's opening up and everything's, hunky dory. It could take that you need to keep going one step deeper. It's a 40-day journal, but we want it to be the rest of your life kind of thing that you do.
I love that. So that's a great idea. So for those of you who do the book or read the book and do the exercise, it's a great idea to revisit it, compare your answers, write new answers, and see where you are in your journey of life. Question for you, Brittany, now that you're back. How important is it to set boundaries in our life, in our relationships? And for somebody who wants to set the boundaries and are having a difficult time setting those boundaries, what advice would you have for them?
Boundaries is one of my favorite words. Might as well, Brittany Boundaries Davis is pretty much it. I am not afraid to set a boundary really, really fast. But you have to stop looking at boundaries as a wall of boxing yourself in. I've actually had this conversation with somebody who's like, I don't want to set boundaries because it walls me in. I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. Wait a minute. We got to have a different narrative and perspective on what boundaries are. They're protection. There's protection. It's saying, it's a stop sign of, I love you, but I love myself enough to give you a stop sign or a yield even of you can't come any further. And one of the areas that I have to set boundaries is with my kids. I love my kids. They're at home with me all day long, but I have to set a hard boundary of mom has to work. So you're going to have to stay upstairs while I'm doing this interview, if my connection will stay on. And so I had to set a boundary with them. But for the people that really struggle with boundaries, I encourage you to look at what your definition of boundary is. Because if you're struggling, then I feel like maybe you would have a negative view of what a boundary is. And it's actually a really positive thing to set boundaries with people. Jimmy knows this because, maybe Jimmy needs to talk one day and he really needs me. And I just have to tell him, I love you, man. I will be available in a couple of hours. I need a couple of moments to just, I got to sit myself because it's one of those things that we hear all the time, but it is so true. You cannot pour from an empty cup. So setting those boundaries gives you time to refresh and regain your sense of self so that you can continue to pour out. But if you don't set boundaries, you can't gain that.
Well, and a critical thing in relationships too. So one boundary that I do with is she's very happily married, and I love her husband to death, and I love that they love being with each other when he's home from work. On the days he's home from work, Jimmy does not contact her for any reason at all. There's like a an emergency. Your house is on fire. You might want to go put it out. But other than that, I'm not really reaching out to her. That's a boundary that I set up to respect her as my friend. And I think she appreciates that.
Yeah, that's a great example. Boundaries have been a huge part of my life over the years, and it's something I'm still working on myself. I think it's an ongoing thing. One of my problems, one of my challenges, or I should say, learning opportunities, even better, over the years, is being a people pleaser, right? Saying yes and saying things that maybe is not how I feel, or entirely accurate, but saying it because I'm viewing it from the lens of me sounding cool and looking cool. So I would filter my response as a way that I would look cool or sound cool to that person I'm speaking to. And I've become really aware of it, but it still happens from time to time. So is that something, Brittany, you struggle with, kind of being a yes person or people pleasing and maybe filtering out your response to looking and sounding cool?
Jimmy, hush.
No.
Yes, yes. I do say yes a lot of the times when I don't need to. I say yes until I'm laying on the couch staring at the ceiling going, I physically cannot move. So yes, I still deal with people pleasing, not necessarily from a place of cool, but I have done the one step deeper into my childhood and realized that I was so invalidated as a child. I was told, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do this, you're gonna. And I wasn't given a choice. And so now I feel this kind of reaction of I have to be everything for everybody. I have to take care of everybody. I can't take care of myself. I can't stop to take care of myself. That's a pattern that I picked up. That's a people pleasing pattern. And also, if I didn't perform the things that my parents told me to do, that I didn't get a choice in, I was going to be beaten or hit or hurt. And our body, I don't know if you know the book or heard of the book, The Body Keeps the Score. Your
Absolutely.
body remembers those things. Your body remembers those responses that people had. And so even though nobody is coming for me if I don't do the dishes, I still have this internal battle of if I don't do the dishes, I'm not good enough. I'm terrible. I'm horrible. I'm a terrible person. And so boundaries with self too, by the way, guys. Don't let yourself spiral into that thinking. But yeah, I definitely still struggle with people pleasing. And it's one of those moments I have to dip into who I am, my core values, kindness, respect, and compassion for all, but most importantly, self. And so when I'm beating myself up and I'm trying to please people, I have to ask myself, am I doing this from a place of kindness to them or myself? Am I doing this out of respect for them or myself? Am I doing this out of compassion for them or myself? And if I feel like I'm denying who I am by honoring them, then I'm not who am I actually honoring? Who am I actually benefiting if I'm not honoring myself first before somebody else?
Mm. Great questions to ask yourself. What about you, Jimmy? Do you struggle with that, or have you struggled with that in the past?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, and we talk a lot about Brittany and I Enneagrams. Have you ever done your Enneagram yet? I'm curious.
I have, but it's been a few years, so I'm due to do it again. Yeah.
Yeah, there's this website, eclecticenergies.com, if you want to have it run. Do the long form version of it, eclecticenergies.com. And so Brittany is a one wing two, and I'm a three wing two. So we share two, and then her husband, interestingly enough, is a two wing three. So me and her husband are basically the same, and it shows up as people pleasing, working hard to get respect. And for me, it was because of the abuse I got from my dad. Like every time I achieved something as a teenager, it was not lauded, it was not respected, it was not cared about. I was just some minion in the way of his life, and it didn't matter. And so, for my life, for the rest of my life, after that, until I started doing this one step deeper journey, I was always doing things seeking to please others. Why do you think I wrote 7 books in 7 years in the keto world? Why do you think I ended up right before I went away on sabbatical 2.5 years ago for 6 months? Why was I doing 6 podcasts a week? I was working to prove my worth, to prove my value, to want people to like me. And I didn't even know it. That's the funniest part. Like you just think, oh, I'm a hard worker. I've got a work ethic. No, honey, as Brittany would say, honey, no, you got trauma. That's what you got. You got. And so once I realized that, then okay, I'm very proud of what I was able to produce with all that pain and coping mechanism that my trauma brought on. But now I recognize what it is when I work very hard, and I still work hard, but I do it targeted. I'm more measured about it, and it's deliberate for the work. I'm not running away anymore. I'm chasing now.
It's great awareness, Jimmy. It's a great share. It's a great authentic share. Both of you, great authentic share. I think this made a big difference for those who ended up watching it, and kudos to those who watched the whole thing. Go get the book. The link we'll put in the replay. There it is right there, but it's onestepdeeperjournal.com. For those of you on here who follow me, follow Jimmy, follow Brittany. You could, click their names up there. And any last words, Brittany, and then any last words for you, Jimmy, before we wrap this up?
Thank you for having me on. It was great to meet you. I love this conversation. I love where it went. I love your quotes, by the way, that you could just throw those quotes out there. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Brittany.
And dude, like I've been in the health space for a long time, and I'm so happy to see people like yourself leading the charge of the mind aspect of things. And as you noted at the beginning, I will be talking a lot more about that in my own work, shifting away from so much explicitly diet stuff and more into this mindset stuff. Because if you don't talk about mental health is health. I want that to become a thing. And the sooner that we realize that we need to work on our mindset, we need to acknowledge things like trauma. We need to realize that there's more to life than just the food you put in your mouth. So thank you again for leading the charge there, helping people understand that it's more than just the food.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You two are doing great work. And Brittany, it was a pleasure getting to meet you finally. And I look forward to seeing what you both create next. And honestly, for those watching, stop following the damn crowd and start following your damn purpose. And if you want to live on purpose with your purpose and understand what that exactly even means and how to do it, go get the book. I think it's an incredible worksheet for everybody to get and then redo and redo. So it's onestepdeeperjournal.com. Jimmy, Brittany, appreciate you both. We'll have more conversations, and I hope you both have a great vitamin G filled day for the rest of your day. We'll talk soon.
Yes.
Bye, you two. Bye, everybody.